some of the
So did you ever think of being an artist? I mean, as opposed to...
I do a bit of painting myself, yeah. But you know, pretty flat out with 27 kids. Keep busy. Now, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
Did Laurie do that?
Yeah, that's grandpa's. Yeah, there's a story with this one. I'll tell you the story with this one. He was going to throw this out, and I said, "Oh, can I have a dad?" He said, "Yeah." So years later, his doctor, he didn't like doctors, but he had a friend. His doctor was his friend. He didn't want him to look at him at all, but he was his friend. And he asked him one time when he saw this, he said, "Could you do me a copy of that? Could you paint one?" So that you see there's some construction lines there, where he's marked that out to do a copy of it. So this doctor's one of the lucky people who's got one of the old man's copies of an original. And there's a lot of his pictures of other side of the forest too. There's about all the ones in that book, plus a few others. And not long before he died about 6-7 years ago, he started to paint just around the house in Sutton Forest, like who was a Waterloo man? Monet used to paint around his garden, and that's what the old man did. He'd go out, set up an easel. First day he'd sketch it in with charcoal. That was it, because he's getting the light, trying to get the same light each day. Come back the next day, paint the background in, and then the third day do the foreground. That was it. And he's got about 110 those little paintings that he did before he died. So.
And you have them?
Yeah, we've got them up there. Amazing. Any questions?
Yes. You said you had really 8 years training, 4 at Tech and 3
more
doing
with
something.
the same guy, yeah.
Now, what's the case now? Is it still that? If people want to be a sign writer, do you know?
It's sad. There's young people come up to me when I'm working who are actually learning sign writing, and they're still going to Tech, but they don't get to do brushwork. They only get to do stick-on lettering. That's why I didn't encourage Jimmy, because it's...
So they don't actually do the brushwork anymore?
No, very rarely. There's about 3 people in Sydney that I know of that are still doing only handwritten stuff. Everybody else does handwritten or stick-on. And a lot of it's obviously business oriented, because you can't practice doing, you've got to be able to do a complete circle.
So is that because you have a good eye, because of the brushes you use, or combination, or...?
It's a hell of a lot to do with brushes. Brushes are very hard to get now. These ones, as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but they're not in great repair. My old oil brushes are better because you don't use so much oil paint now, so that they've lasted better than the acrylic
Would you
one.
consider giving a workshop on brush strokes? A short one.
I don't know. I could, but I don't know.
Think of the money.
Do you think it would help with painting?
Well, I'm just thinking it's a beautiful thing, and it's such a tragedy that no one teaches it anymore.
Yeah.
It would just be nice to have that experience.
Well, having said what I said about the Tech, kids going to Tech to a computer, I'm pretty sure they still learn hand sign writing. But they can't do anything with it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go to Tech and do a whole course on computerisation and do a little bit of...
No. I'll tell you where I'm working, you can come watch me.
Oh, fantastic. Last question, how many children do you have?
I've got 2 of my own and 6 steps.
And are any of them artists?
Musical artist,
beautiful.
Jimmy's a legal, he's going to be a legal artist soon, when he's 18. He's possibly
What's a legal artist?
someone who paints signs and things when you're allowed to.
What do you think of graffiti?
Oh, funny you should mention graffiti. We were just talking about that.
There's a whole dialogue going on there that I don't know.
No, that's right, and I've learned a bit about it from Jimmy's friends.
There's
He
lots
doesn't know anything about it.
work sign writers out there, actually.
Yes.
At Newtown.
Yeah, there's a lot of good lettering done in graffiti. Yeah.
Fabulous.
And the only thing that gets me about it is that graffiti used to be like, Sack Fraser, stuff like that. Now it's, wow, what does that say?
Yes.
It's sort of, a lot of the kick of the political side of graffiti's gone.
Yeah.
But some of it's beautifully decorative, there's no doubt about that. Beautiful, yeah.
So I'd suggest a walk the back streets of Newtown, some really, really fine stuff here. I think they let them do it. So
There
as a
are
result, it's
what they
not
call
something
legal
that's-
walls.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
really, really sophisticated
they
stuff.
spend a lot of time on it. Yeah, it's quite an art form, and it's connected to hip hop music
Yeah.
and shoes.
Yeah.
You've got to have the right shoes. They
While I'm on that subject, 2 rude words, stencils and spray cans. Do you use either of them?
I have used a stencil. My friend is a computer signwriter, gets me to work with him sometimes. And he had to do back at Bankstown. We had a visitor's signs on the ground, which is difficult to sign on the ground. I usually do it myself on the ground, but he made up these stencils. And we sprayed them and they were dreadful. They just bled everywhere. They were cut round with sprayed. No, and I with repetitive stuff, the only thing I used to do was screen printing. Sometimes not vertically, but boards for property, whatever boards, you just screen those.
Like some of the others, there's a movement in Newtown, particularly, where they actually cut very, very intricate stencils.
Oh yes.
Which they then airbrush.
No, there's
with a
some
spray can.
beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Fabulous stuff.
Yeah. There's a nice one they do of a cat that sort of
That's
gets
right,
the wall
yeah.
down there.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, really good stuff.
May Lane in St Peters.
Yeah, May Lane in St Peters near Sydney Park. That's a really good one to look at.
I wish.
That's the sort of
Is that done all by hand, and do you do any of that?
I've done, there's a photo in here somewhere, I don't know where it is, I'll just see quickly if I can find it. We used to do trucks where I served my time. Good expression, isn't it, serve my time? Well, it's a bit like jail. This one here, you might remember at Marketplace, had these flower wagons years ago. I don't know if it's still there, but they were beautifully done, gypsy style caravans. And so Johnny Willis, with these gangster connections, you wouldn't believe that the flower game is controlled by gangsters, but it is. We got the job of doing one of these. So they got the other ones were done originally by someone really classy, truck liner and decorator. So we got the job of doing one like that, and we got photographs of it. We started marking it out. Johnny says, "Oh no, don't worry about that," and he cut out like 80% of it. So this is still quite nice, but it's the original ones were beautifully ornate with different thicknesses of lines all around the spokes of the wheels. And, yeah, so claim to fame almost.
That sort of started with horses and carts for breweries.
That's right. Yeah, we used to do the Penfolds.
That's right.
Penfold stationery place, not the wine people, the stationery. They had a cart drawn by big draft horses.
Yeah.
The signwriting, that was beautiful. That had what's called mock blocking on it, which is, if you know what people call a shade on lettering, to make it look three-dimensional. It's actually blocking. And mock blocking, you use the background colour, the lighter colour. I can't explain that one, but it's a quick way of doing a double-sided shade, whatever that means. Yes, I'm going to do something here. Yeah, I'll ask my beautiful assistant to give me a hand.
Is Johnny Willis still with us?
No, Johnny. Natural causes, yes, one cancer. And I don't think he had a liver either. Bit hard to live. This is Jimmy, my beautiful assistant. And this is a chalk line and charcoal, which is used to mark out your paintings if you're a painter. We mark out on light surfaces with charcoal, dark surfaces with chalk. And we use a chinograph pencil, which you might have heard of chinographs, have you? It's just like a wax pencil which writes on glass, writes on anything, and then you can polish them off with car polish afterwards. So I'm just going to do a little quick sample here. We've got, there's something we made up earlier. These marks here, Jimmy's going to hold on there. And we'll just have a line for you. You might have seen signwriters doing this in the street, have you? Alright? Yeah. Oh, 3 to go. And the great thing about it is you can just dust it off when you finish.
Yeah.
Jimmy knows about dusties. That's a graffiti term for the uninformed. From me, I've got thousands of them here. No. Now that's actually an old typewriter reel. The metal ones were good, the old typewriter metal ones, but that's, and you just buy this, it's called, yes, 2 lines, yeah, and then you can dust it off afterwards, yeah. It's just, it's a brickies line, yeah, but there's various thicknesses of line. You want to get the thinnest one you can get for chalk line, otherwise you obviously get a thick line. Just a hardware shop, comes in a shank. Okay, I was just going to quickly show you a little bit about something that used to be called spacing, which pretty much doesn't exist now, because another thing the old man told me about the newspaper game is, you know about typesetting the newspapers, how they do each letter stuck into a channel, and there's no allowing for the space between letters. Obviously it's mechanical spacing. I'll just show you what I mean. So, it's okay. Thank you, beautiful assistant. Good work. So we're doing just to show you what you do. You get a job to do a sign, so they want lane. The example they used in the signwriting tech course. Get your centre, just roughly work out where it's going to go. Maybe put a couple of little marks of where big the letters are and so on. Sketch it in. Work out where the centre of the letter is. You can't really do it from measurement because you've got to use your eye to work out the spacing. So then you'd sort of rough your letters in. And I mean rough. And we'll do this one mechanical, like they do typesetting in newspapers. So they do allow a tiny bit, that'll be closer, just a little bit further away, but not much. Sometimes when you're doing lines, it's easier to get a straight line across. Now this, unfortunately, because it's mechanical space, that space there, is that one. So then you've got an L here, which is, you can imagine what's going to happen there. You're going to end up with a massive space in here, which is huge. That's supposed to be the same as that and that. And you can see it's nowhere near. So what we have to do there, it's totally off centre, but we won't worry about that. What we have to do there is space it correctly. That's what it says in the textbook. It says correct spacing, incorrect spacing. So you start off with your LA, which is obviously the closest letters that touch. Then you move your N away in a comparative position to that. Move your N away a bit. This is going to look totally foreign to you because you don't see it. What I'm showing you is what it used to look right. But when you look at it now, because you're conditioned to newspaper print and so on, it won't look right. But to me it looks right. And then the same here, this has got to be a bigger space here. Right? So you fill that in, you've got a little bit more of a mass area the same. And also, you've got to think about the space in here and here. All these spaces in between the lettering, all
Why do the spaces have to be equal?
just for legibility. From a distance, if it's crammed together, you can't read it.
Yeah.
You see how far I've gone over there with that? Compared to that?
Yeah.
And I've gone too far over to the right.
If you were to put an I in there,
And I?
Would the spacing still be as much as the space taken up by the L?
Let's see. Where do you mean the I would go?
Like if you were to put a capital I at the end of the word anywhere,
Yeah.
that space still takes up
the amount of space that the block E or block N would take up, wouldn't it?
No, because then you
Oh,
have,
so you squash it up a bit.
yeah, well, in that case you'd have an eye that wide. You know what I mean? So the eye obviously has to be, there's a formula for that.
Right.
When you start tech, you learn 3 styles, the basic styles that all lettering comes from, I tell you. Egyptian block, which is pretty much that, and all, like, what's the common one on computers now? It used to be Helvetica, and there's one similar to that.
Roman.
Arial, that's right. That's the rip-off of Helvetica, which is a beautiful style. So there's Egyptian block, there's Classic Roman. Someone said Roman. Jimmy gets points for that.
Classic Roman.
Classic Roman is based on a square. So the O is a circle in your height, and all the other letters are based on a square. So your N, instead of a skinny N like that, is this extended N. You've seen Classic Roman, like the stuff that's carved into stone and so on. And then copperplate script, which is, as far as I know, the original